We're continuing to follow the Republican fallout from Donald Trump's Rob Reiner comments after the tragic killing of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, allegedly by their son. Donald Trump put out a disgusting message on Truth Social, which we've now looked at twice. He doubled down on that by saying that Rob Reiner was deranged, and he referred to himself in the third person in a clip that we've looked at twice. And Republicans don't like it. We are starting to see the fallout continue. Republican Congressman Don Bacon went on TV. This is not a Democrat. This is not a never Trumper. This is a sitting Republican congressman, Nebraska Republican Don Bacon. He was asked about the comments, and here is what he had to say.
I think it's helpful. If we come back and say, Mr. President, we disagree, he could have had a much better tariff policy if he would have come to the Congress. There's some tariffs I would have supported. But, tariffs against 80 countries, for example.
And it's really hurting agriculture in Nebraska.
And so he would be better off if more people spoke up, gave him honest feedback, and it would stop him from doing some of the most the zany things out there that he does. And this comments on Mr. Reiner, they were just ugly. Terrible. And we're better than that. And okay, I expect it from some people, normally at a bar or something, but not the President of the United States, right?
Don Bacon says we're better than that. I don't know if the Republican Party is better than that right now. I guess they're trying to argue that they are by saying we don't agree with the comment. But this is the type of stuff that's been welcomed and that people have been disinhibited by Trump in order to feel comfortable saying this and xenophobic stuff and racist stuff. But this really matters. It matters because Republican criticism does break the illusion that there was anything strategic behind Donald Trump's comments about Rob Reiner rather than impulsive and destructive. And that's really what they were. And when a Republican congressman says the president's comments are ugly, it signals internal concern. It's not about media outrage. It's we are worried about this. Don Bacon didn't frame the messaging as he didn't say that it was a messaging error. He said it is behavior that is beneath the presidency. And of course, he's correct about that. Comparing Trump to people at a bar strips away the usual excuses of, Trump's his authentic self. Trump is a blunt leader that you just have to understand. And so the framing that Don Bacon offers is really important because it shifts the conversation from politics to just, can Trump control himself? Does Trump lack basic judgment? And of course he does. And Republicans have defended him for years by saying it's an intentional and effective lack of restraint. That's how Trump governs, keeps people on his toes, whatever. And this undermines that defense because there is no political upside to the Reiner post. Trump has gained nothing from it. Not a rallying cry, doesn't unite his base. It doesn't signal anything about policy. It was impulse. And Trump's inability or refusal to walk it back even after being confronted makes it a bigger problem. And then Don Bacon going on TV and talking about it makes it an even bigger problem. And this is not like a personality quirk. The point here is that it's a governing risk to have someone like this in charge. Republicans are saying it out loud. You can easily dismiss Democratic criticism as partisan. Of course, Democrats are criticizing Trump. Democrats criticize Trump for everything. Republican criticism invites permission to doubt. And that is a theme of today's show in a way. If we go back to the top of the show, Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, making these comments to Vanity Fair about Trump's impulsivity and making big decisions on a whim and all of this stuff. And then you look at Don Bacon's comments and other Republicans saying this was a bad idea. And then you go on the conservative subreddit and you see that on the posts about Trump's Rob Reiner commentary, 90% of the posts are against what Donald Trump said. There is a permission that seems to be mutually being granted to start questioning whether Trump is the direction that should persist here into 2026 and beyond. Once Republicans acknowledge Trump can't regulate his behavior, everything else becomes much more difficult to defend. And it'll reframe future incidents, and there will be many, not as an isolated flare-up, but as part of a deteriorating pattern. And that is a real problem for Donald Trump because they will have to choose. Do we defend the indefensible, or do we finally acknowledge that something is wrong? And the reflexive kind of loyalty that Trump has survived with is going to go away. This is really not about Rob Reiner. We've talked a lot about Rob Reiner. A lot of things are about him. This is about, does Trump still have any of the restraint that a president must have? Once Republicans question that, the damage starts to compound and it starts to become a real problem. I wish Marjorie Taylor Greene were not resigning because I would love to have seen, could she win her primary in Georgia even with Trump lobbying for an opponent of hers and saying, do not vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene. That would have been an incredible signal as to what is happening with the power of Trump right now. Marjorie's resigning 2 days after the minimum amount of time to get her pension, her congressional pension. What a coincidence. So we're not going to see that, but maybe we'll hear from more Don Bacons. Thanks for watching. Check out another one of our videos and make sure to subscribe so YouTube keeps our content in your feed. And if you prefer audio, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Apple.